Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor. I'm so excited. The Spirituality Now podcast is in a stage in its I call it young life. We've been 4 years, tweaking, learning, building foundations. We are now solely promoted, produced, assisted by only De La Flor Teachings International, a systemic, spiritual and systemic coaching company that mentors companies, individuals, couples, just anyone that desires to attain spiritual mastery with ancient wisdom for the modern times and get things done, get results going, get this life flowing in a purposeful manner that actually impacts your life, impacts your business in a good, ethical way, and impacts purposefully and forwardly the world. So I'm so happy to announce we're solely produced, promoted, etc. by De La Flor Teachings International and sponsored by it. And this company is sponsoring us so we can deliver the podcast freely, philanthropically. So we don't ask money from anyone. You won't hear commercials from us in our behalf. So we don't interrupt the flow of our incredible speakers, teachers that we invite. And we're so excited for that. Also, very soon the podcast finally will go into video podcasting and will be on YouTube and everything. I am so slow. We have a core value called the bamboo effect, which the bamboo grows first. The good bamboo in the world grows first 4 years underground. I know some people tell me that's too long. But when you have a core value and it's a non-negotiable, you adapt it. But when it's non-negotiable, you stick to it. And so I waited. And I think that for next year, we're ready for bringing video podcasts. So we will re-invite a lot of our incredible guests that we have in this podcast so you can see them too, not only listen to them. One of our intentions is not to add to the noise in the world. There's so much information, so many podcasts, so many spiritual teachers, so many incredible, athletes, so many incredible people, but really few really creating impact in the world. So we aspire for that, and we hope that all of our podcasts serve you. And if they do, the only thing we ask you is that you share us, subscribe, leave us your comments. Feedback is welcome. We take it as feed forward. Just be kind. Just be kind. And send us your questions and whatever you need for us to address in future episodes. Anywho, so today, I have an incredible guest. I've been literally after interviewing him for a long time. He's now here. He comes from a country that I call it my second home. I adore it. So we'll talk about it in a moment. And we are going to be interviewing Mr. Ketan Mavinkurve. And now Mavinkurve. So I apologize in advance if I'm not pronouncing it right. He will course correct me live on the podcast, which I totally love. So Ketan Mavinkurve is the founder and CEO of Alpha Coach. Just let that sink in. Alpha Coach. I love the name Alpha. He is a chartered accountant and has worked in prestigious firms such as Pricewaterhouse Coopers and Ernst and Young. His last stint was serving as vice president at Berggren Holdings in India, involved in private equity deals for over 15 years. Prior to Alpha Coach, Ketan also co-founded AKRO, Acro Fitness, a boutique personal training studio in Mumbai, one of the most notable brands in the personal training in the country. He's a fitness enthusiast, and after struggling with his own fitness for over a decade, due to lack of knowledge and proper guidance, has dedicated his time and efforts to create businesses designed to positively impact people's health and fitness and help them create long-term sustainable lifestyle solutions. And we're all about sustainable results, right? He's always challenging the status quo, my people. In breaking barriers and blasting through ceilings we set for our for own personal growth, which is why at Acro and now at Alpha Coach, he has created a platform to allow everyone to achieve their health goals. Ooh. He also walks the talk in terms of taking action and execution and takes his own fitness very seriously. He truly believes that no matter how hard the struggle is, if one wants something desperately, they need to go out and get it. And this is my beloved friend and ally, Kiran. I just want to say before I hand the microphone to him, and I promise I will give him the microphone, that we met through the incredible mentor called Tim Grover. He is the author of the book Relentless and Winning. You should read it. He was, people usually promote Tim as the mentor of the coach of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, but I want to say something. He's far much more than that. An extraordinary leader, mindset, high peak performance mentor. I think he's the best. And Kiran and I met through his mentorship in a group called Down and Dirty, paying tribute where tribute is due. With that said, my beloved ally and friend, Ketan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you so much for having me here. Because you asked me to course correct you. So my name is Ketan Mavinkurve, and that's how it's sort of pronounced in India. And I think where, like you said, where credit is due. Super happy, and that I've met people like you and so many other allies through our mentor Tim Grover. It's just been such a rewarding journey over the last 3 years, just spending time together on all of the D&D or other down and dirty calls. So thank you so much again for having me. It's an absolute privilege. And let me know what you'd like me to answer about everything about breaking barriers and taking it up to the next level.
Yeah, so this podcast is called Breaking Barriers, but we're going to start the breaking barriers of Kitan. I'm still doing my best on the pronunciation, right? So, what's
Right.
your story? Where does because you have Alpha Coach, Breaking Barriers, you are an incredible entrepreneur, you've hustled it, you do the work, but where did that begin? Like, take us to your childhood. This is the Spirituality Now podcast, and spirituality for all doesn't mean like, hey everybody, let's burn sage. I mean, that I think that has a place in time, but this is spirituality is as real as it gets. It's practical spirituality, like, what's the messiness, what's the shadow, what's the dark side, what it is that makes you you and that makes you succeed and help many people in the world. So tell us a little bit about your story. Where did this all begin?
Excellent. So I come from a working class family. My father worked in a government company, which is into petroleum. My mother was a homemaker, and so I came from a pretty, you could say, a middle class, sort of family. Growing up, and this is how I actually came into fitness eventually. I mean, grew up, in the 80s and the 90s, and sort of started looking at, all these insane, you could say, physiques of people just in their prime, how this thing. So growing up, all of these things, and it had a profound impact on me as to how do these people actually do this. How do these people actually get there, stay there at the top of the game, and those things sort of played on me, this quite a lot. uh, Growing up was really, really good. My parents, this thing, I had a lot of friends, a lot of family around me. All that was fairly nice until I probably turned, I think I was 18 years old. And then I had an extremely tough time for the next 7 years till I was like 25. um, and that's what actually was the, I would say, the pivotal time in my life where I actually changed as a person from being a carefree, absolutely happy-go-lucky, take it as it comes sort of a person, to just actually considering the gravity of life and how I need to make the most of it. Just as Tim Grover says, we don't have time, right? We don't have time. I mean, every minute is actually just passing, and we need to make the most of it. And that actually sort of came about when I was 18, when I actually lost my mother in an accident. And then for the next 7 years, I lost literally the entire previous generation. I lost my father, I lost my grandparents on both sides, I lost an uncle, I even lost a brother-in-law actually. and it was a bit gruesome, to have 6 deaths in 7 years. And we realized that we have to be on our own feet, me and my brother, and we sort of took care of each other through that particular difficult time. And we just realized the importance of holding, or rather, people who are close to us, and how do we actually hold them absolutely dear and treat them like, absolute pillars in our life, right? And that's actually something that was what drove me into being strong, and not just physically, but I'm talking mentally resilient. It helped me make sure that, in terms of careers and finances, etc., everything that in every sphere I needed to be strong, I actually went out and did that. And it's actually funny that the last thing that I actually did was actually become physically strong way in my late 30s, when I actually started taking care of my health. um, Before, because I was started taking care of so many other things before that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I grew up and
Wow.
sort of came into
That's
this.
not a little. That's not a little, that's a lot. And you have something, and I'm gonna, I know I sent you a couple of questions, but I like to flow into the moment too, to really extract
Yep.
the essence of things. And I'm not foreign to accidents and death, right? I call always, I said that my most three important teachers in life have been the three white deaths. And you are into nutrition and fitness and helping people, and you know that the three white deaths in nutrition are salt, right? Salt, sugar, and white flour, right? The three, they call it the white deaths in nutrition, as far as I studied it. But my three white deaths were literally the experience of divorce, disease, and death. And your experience of your mother dying in an accident, and all of your family in a period of 7 years, it sounds like a heroic journey for me. Like Joseph Campbell, he describes the hero's journey based on Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. Things that there's a period where the hero is going to be so tested by death, by enemies, by so many things, to test him and to see if he's going to become, the hero that returns to the community with the elixirs of wisdom, with what he learned, with what he can do, or if he's going to be reluctant and he's going to use all these excuses why not to move forward, and he's not going to hit the call. A lot of people are fascinated to become a hero, but when it comes to really be the hero, they cannot do it. So you have this. And by all means, you just share what you want. But I do want to honor your mother, because you built Alpha Coach, you built these breakthroughs, you have this incredible mindset, my ally. And I just felt called to honor her and speak a little bit about that loss. I don't want to go very deep into that, but the mother is the birthplace for us all into success. And how it is
Right.
success is the success in life. It's just we are born, right? And you seem to have lost every single person that was important family wise, right? So tell us a little bit about your mother. I just want to honor her, and what accident did she have? How did you what was as an initiation point for you? I feel this is a really spiritual moment, right? So how was that for you, love?
Well, yeah. So I was 18 years old. I remember waking up to the news. I think she was traveling, and she there was a car accident where she was traveling between cities. She was coming back from another city to Mumbai, and so she actually met with a car accident. And I actually woke up to that news that day, and I was alone at home. This was the day without cell phones. This was back in 1997. In fact, uh, just recently on the 20th of November, we actually commemorated her because it was 25 years since she left us, on the 20th of November 2022, because this was 1997. And I received this phone call, and saying that there's been an accident of this car, and it was my car, and it was the driver, and so on and so forth. And I remember calling my father's office, and he hadn't even reached his own office because he used to take the train and go there. And And I called him, and then I called him an hour later, and then he actually picked up at his desk, and I just said, I think you just need to come home because something's happened, and I couldn't tell him what because I didn't want him to panic, and because taking the train is dangerous in Mumbai. There's a lot of crowds and stuff, so I wanted him to sort of come back. I told him just take a cab and come back home, and but yeah, it was a terrible time for all of us because it was the first death that I'd ever witnessed and seen and experienced in my life. And my mother, of course, was the pillar of our family. She was obviously a support system. A father, like any good old baby boomer father, you could say, was one of those I would say strict parents who would scold us and want to discipline us and wanted us to be very upstanding citizens. But it was of course our mother who was far more gentle, far more endearing, far more not loving, but far more sort of generally just one of those people. And she was the buffer between us and the father, and as typical mothers are, right? And So she was definitely something that we couldn't get over that particular grief for a very 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 long time. And in fact, it's just my father passed away about 4 years after that, and it's so funny that we had so many deaths in between that I actually not once and till date have not actually really cried after losing my father, because I think I just exhausted everything with my mother and a couple of the deaths after that. And it was actually like, okay, we've been told that he had a brain tumor and that he had to be taken off life support because it was a thing and so on and so forth. And they said that it was done. And I actually did not cry. And I said, okay, okay, what are the next steps? So I actually went about doing that. So just this whole episode with my mother and thereafter turned me into this extremely task oriented and results oriented person, saying, I mean, almost in Tim Grover's words, done next. To say that, okay, this is done, okay, what's the next step, what do we do next? Okay, fine, there's no point sitting around and moping around it. I know it's grief. In fact, uh, it literally happened back, sorry, I'm rambling a little, but it literally happened back in 97 itself when I actually went back to my college and I attended lectures 3 days after my mother passed away. So, and there were friends in school in college who said, "Why have you come? Just take a week off." And I said, "I don't know what to do sitting at home. So I'd rather just come and get my mind off things rather than just sit at home because I've been crying for 3 days. So the fourth day I just went to college. So yeah, so that was really what my mother sort of meant to us, what it did to us. It sort of broke us in a bit in a certain way, but I think it also helped us become far more mature and resilient and strong for the rest of what we had to go through in life after that.
I love what you are sharing, and you're answering all the questions that we sent you. You are sharing your story of overcoming. You are sharing your personal story. We also honor your mother. I felt really called right now to do that because the buffer that she was, your father. I do want to mention people to my people here in the podcast. That sometimes you are expected by society to shed a lot of tears to grieve when someone dies. I was dead 28 seconds, my ally, and I've lost my mother, my grandfather died. Well, he had a brain stroke and fell in my arms when I was 12. So I'm not foreign to death. And that is such a powerful teacher for life, right? For taking your place in the world, for actually using the pain, the sorrow, the suffering, and turn it into this is the mud where the lotus flower grows. And about people being expected to cry or something, everybody grieves differently. Everybody grieves different. Maybe your tears are in the sweat of helping people become the better versions of themselves. Maybe your tears are in like you choosing to become every day the best version of who you can possibly be, and let the past die, let the past self die. And I've been a facilitator of shadow work, trauma integration for more than 20 years. And I can tell you, everybody grieves differently. And what you are doing, my ally, is amazing. Helping people break barriers is just what an incredible way to honor those who came before you that that die. So I just wanted to highlight that and pay tribute to you. So my beloved Ala, you already shared, lots of, in a very few minutes, you were able to share all that you have had to and chose to overcome with death, with losses, with so much, right? And a little bit of your story, but in all of these losses, in the presence of death, in the presence of being so challenged to grow and choosing to grow and make something good about this, what are some of the gifts that you think you receive through these challenges? Maybe name three or four of them.
Well, excellent. So I think the first one would be strength and resilience. I think I have an immense amount of strength and resilience when it comes to, dealing with situations, whether good or bad. So what happens is that anything bad, I know that I've been through something so much more dire and drastic, and actually dealing with the death of my parents and the death of a lot of my family members, and also seeing a lot of other grief. That's one thing that actually has come to me, and I know that, I'm just going to get through this no matter what. So that's the first one. The second is that, again, pretty much coming through from the same thing, is, I would say sometimes I call myself naively optimistic, but I think I am. I think I'm just. I think not naively, but I think I'm an eternal optimist. To put it in a better way, in the sense that, I just think that, I think there was a famous quote by Henry Ford, if I'm not wrong, that, it says that whether you think you're right or wrong, right, you are right, right, at the end of it. So whatever you think you are, and what you think is exactly what you end up doing. It's just about controlling your mind, which control your actions, which control your results, as Tim Grover says. If your mind already believes that you can do it, or that the fact that it'll turn out okay, uh, and so you're usually not bothered about what the end result typically will end up being, because you're sort of okay with the end result, because, you're sort of saying that it's fine, you know and things will work out. If they don't, we'll try again. I think that's really the second one. And I think third one that I think has put me has been given to me, I think, by all of these circumstances, is what I call grit, or perseverance, as it's also called. Because at a very young age, literally from the 18 to the 25, where, most children are, at least in India, still live with their parents, right? People are studying, people are, just about getting out there and beginning to experience life on their own terms, and, independently, but still living with the parents, and as per very sheltered sort of a society in India. We were actually literally out on the street. I mean, not. I mean, figuratively out on the street. We literally were not out on the street, but figuratively had to start earning our own keep. We had to look for jobs. We actually had to uh, take care of our families. My brother got married when I was very young. I got married later on, and, we had to sort of prove to the world that, what, okay, it's all up, it's all okay. We probably don't have somebody to take care of us, but, we're going to grow up mentally and spiritually, far earlier than a lot of people. And that's really what I think are the three big uh, takeaways for me, the gifts that I received, as you asked, which would be strength and resilience, eternal optimism, and a whole lot of grit. To be honest, to just keep going after my goals, just
Yes.
without stopping.
Yeah, that's so powerful, because some of us, have challenges, deaths, marriages failed, breakups, and we don't continue to go, or we continue to go, but just limping our way through life. And, you really became more alpha in your choices, kind of a benevolent alpha, more than just an alpha, right? And so what is the first barrier? When did you decided to begin to create all that you are creating? What was the first barrier that you broke that made you think, I'm going to help people break barriers in their lives too?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think that's a fantastic question. So how can I say this? I remember that was 2016 when I was thinking about this particular business, and a friend of mine actually spoke about doing something together, and I told him, you know what, we need to set up something where you don't work 20, 12 hours a day, but your money and your business keeps working for you. And we actually set this first business up, which was a gym, which was a small boutique gym in Mumbai. Um, and then that was 2016. And in 2018, I had a breakthrough with my own fitness. And I realized that, it is possible for people like me, growing up as a little chubby child, never into sports, having a career which was into finance, and, expected to be very, very nerdy. People who would study the way I did, what I did were typically people with pot bellies. They were never into fitness. They had spectacles, the absolute nerds. And I realized that there were just small things that we had to change about our life, and it literally had to do with doing one thing correctly, and then it's snowballing into the rest of the steps for the day. And it just had to be done and built into the schedule of each and every individual person, and they could then achieve something that only maybe the 1% or 2% people on the planet actually achieve, which is a fit body, a healthy mind, and just being able to provide for themselves and their families. And I actually learned that that's the one that it's possible. And the second, and I would say the bigger insight that came out of this was, if you transform yourself physically, then you transform yourself in several other dimensions as well, which is that you just become a lot more confident at work. If you want to go close a big deal, you're a lot more confident because you've done something way tougher, which sounds, it's ironic that it's tougher to control what we put into our mouths to eat, and the an amount of activity through the day. But there are so many, it's really tough. And if you can do that, then you can elevate your life in terms of career. You become a lot more disciplined, a lot more structured. You become allergic to BS, and you start to be a much more upstanding personality than ever before. And therefore you can elevate your career, you can elevate your relationships outside of work. You can do so much more if you were to just take this one step, which you can pay money for, but you really can't buy, which is your health and fitness. You actually have to put in the work
Absolutely.
and experience it and actually do that, right? You can hire the best trainers, but if you're not diligent about your own health, you will obviously go out and eat trash. So that's what I actually realized, and that's when in 2018 and 2019 I said, this is where I want to actually take a big step into this world and not just be one of the partners, but the managing partner for the business. And of course, when COVID-19 hit in early 2020 in India, I actually shut down that business and I actually launched Alpha Coach, which was far more scalable, far more, there were no geographical boundaries. And it was agnostic to lockdowns and shutdowns and so on and so forth. And that's how we sort of came about actually building this business from scratch.
That sounds so powerful. And I love what you said about that multidimensional transformation. Like, right, like you transform your body and you transform every single other area of your life. And I think that's super powerful for people to understand that, that it's worth it, the investment, it's worth the hard work, it's worth to have delayed gratification response inside. And because it's not a transformation overnight, it's a transformation of every moment, every day, doing the work when you don't want to do it, when it's not comfortable, when it's not convenient, but it will give you the results you want. So, wow. So, out of all of these, now with the mindset that you showed us you have, what is Alpha Coach? Because I love, how did you came up with the name? What is it? What is it? How does it serve people? Tell us all about it.
Absolutely. So Alpha Coach literally stands for getting the best coach for yourself, as opposed to the best coach in the world. So the way we define it is, how we as, at least from the India context, we have a family doctor, right? A family physician who knows us from the time that we are children. right? Now there are hundreds of those, right? But every family has that one physician or doctor that they go to who knows our entire history from the time that we were children. Typically, it does happen. And that doctor will usually know just by taking one look at you or just you telling them a symptom as to what might be wrong with you and what medicine will help and what diet or whatever it is that the prescription that they give you, right? And what we built for with technology and AI and ML is exactly that from a more nutrition and health perspective, wherein everything you log onto the application is logged, analyzed, and then starts giving the best recommendations for each and every person, very, very, very customized and individual. So, Yvonne, you are in the States, and I am in India, but therefore the foods we eat is very, very different. There are different genders, with different, different palates in general, and everything that you eat has an impact on your health and your metabolism, on how you sort of on your mood and so on and so forth. So our application, actually the way we built it, has to give you the best nutrition coach for you. It may not be the best diet in the world, but it will work for you because it's built, actually learns from every individual user. So that's the genesis or the ethos of Alpha Coach, to be very
Wow, that is so powerful. I love the ethos. Love it, love it, love it. And so, I think, the way that you've done your business and the way you support people, and you already said it, right? It supports them in multidimensional ways. I was going to ask you what's the spiritual aspect of it, but I think you cover. What are the transformations besides the physical that I've seen the pictures and is extraordinary? What are the transformations you have seen, the results you have seen in the people you serve that transcend the physical form? What have you seen? Have their relationships gotten better? Have they gotten? And you said it a little bit, but what are some examples of people
right.
that you have served that you will use as testimonials for your work?
Absolutely. I'll give you a couple of examples. So one is less to do with the before and after transformations, which has actually become the gold standard, and people actually want to only talk about that. But that's a very shallow transformation of only losing weight, right? What we actually tell people, that we have a tagline which says, "For change that stays," because you want that change to stay through life, as opposed to you yo-yoing with the weight of with the status that you're in. What we actually had is, there was one lady who had never trained in her life, right? And she just never did not want to do it because she just thought it was not for her. We actually got her to just simply mind her diet and take care of her steps through the day, and just be moderately active through the day for the first 6 months. She lost, I think, upwards of 17 kgs or something like that, just by doing that much, without even training, without even trying to even think about entering a gym.
Wow.
And she was blown away when she finally set foot in the gym, and she actually started training and started saying, "I never thought I'd ever be able to take this step, because now I'm not ashamed of who I am or how I look and
Oh,
how I feel in this body." And there was everything to us, because you know what, she now has a healthy relationship with food and healthy relationship with activity, but most importantly, it was a healthy relationship with herself. That she could look at herself in the mirror and not detest what she actually saw, which was, I thought, for me, the biggest impact that made in my life, right? For that we probably made in somebody's life. Uh, another one was this lady who had, there is this particular disorder, which is called tinnitus. Okay. Um, which 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 because of which a person has a constant ringing sound in their ears. Okay, it can be horrendous. It's a constant ringing sound. Just imagine how torturous
yes.
it will be. And this lady, after 4 months of training with us, minding her diet, getting rid of PCOS, and finally actually told us that tinnitus, all she needed to do was break through the first, I think, 7 or 10 kgs. I can't remember the exact thing, but say about 9 kgs, getting rid of her PCOS, and her tinnitus absolutely disappeared. She said that she's the first time in her life that she probably slept 8 hours at a stretch because she wasn't getting up in between because of the ringing sound. you know. And it was just unbelievable when we actually got that written testimonial from her, saying that we've changed her life and
Wow.
actually helped her feel so much better about herself. And then there are plenty of others where people have actually gotten promotions. They've actually gone out and become a lot more confident at work, gone out and actually been gathered the courage to, ask for a girl's hand in marriage, because he now felt, in her league. You know what I mean? And that's what I think. That's the impact and power of somebody actually being able to uh, feel good about themselves. And I think that's the biggest powerful takeaway of anybody going for fitness, a fitness journey, would be that they feel confident and good about themselves, as opposed to feeling diffident or not measuring up to a certain particular standard that we see on Instagram and so on and so forth. It's those are obviously
Yes.
not the not what regular people look like, at least, or not even what those models look like all the time, but heavily edited pictures, or only posing the best angles and so on and so forth. So
Wow.
that, I think, is yeah, I think that's the most impactful thing that we do,
That is so
which is
powerful. That's so powerful. So, in a way, Alpha Coach turns people into their own Alpha in their lives, right?
yes,
That's amazing, because you reactivate, you awaken people into their own greatness, and they have to do the job, and they find themselves that they can do it. So, walk me very quickly. We have a couple of minutes left, and I have two more questions to ask. But
sure,
walk me really quickly, like if someone signs up, I sign up with you. What is the process? If you can, obviously, only what you can share about your business. I know that some things are proprietary, and only when you sign up you get those, right? But walk me through what is the initial, like when people want to work with you, what do they need to do?
right. So, absolutely. So, the first thing you need to do is fill up a form. We have a detailed information form that's basically there in the application. Once you sign up, you get access to the application. We send you a code to sign in. Once you get that, there is a 13, I would say, I think, 18-page questionnaire that you need to fill in, so that we know almost everything there is to know about you, from the point of view of your diet, your current fitness levels, what your goal is, even why you want to actually get there, right? And we want to know your why more than the what, and we will teach you the how, and that's how it sort of works. And then a coach is assigned to each individual client, depending on what that form exactly says. If it's a person with a knee problem, there may be a coach who sort of specializes in rehabilitation exercises for knees and so on and so forth. If the person has a particular, say, needs to lose 30 kgs or more, we have a couple of coaches who know how to deal with these situations and the accompanying issues that they may have, in terms of the health. If there's somebody who has PCOS and any other such sort of disorders, then we actually help them. They have certain coaches and so on and so forth, right? Or if it's just a general thing, the person wants to lose weight, they're already lifting, we have advanced coaches to help them sort of push themselves more. So we set up a call with these coaches. And the coach will then do a proper 30 to 45-minute call with the client, and then dig deeper in. We ask something called the 5 why technique, right? Where we ask the same question on why about 5 times, to get down to the deepest layer, to uncover the real reason why they actually want to lose weight, why are they signing up for a program, and then to find out the most deepest reasons for it, so that we can keep reminding them of that particular reason, right? And that then helps become the biggest, I would say, the torch or the flame, that or the goal that people want to do, because they probably felt inferior, or had inferiority complex in college, and sometimes these are deep rooted to 15, 20 years back. And that's what we try and find out. And then after that call, do we actually prepare a diet program and a training program, depending on what gym access you have, and so on and so forth. So everything is built around you. And then every week, there are about 2 to 3 touch points on messaging, on calls, on video calls, where there is a very, very heavy set of hand holding that's done by the coach with the client, so that they always know that the coach is with them, even if they're never actually met in person. So there's a very, very heavy set done there. And that's how it typically works. So we don't put a timeline on fitness.
Yes.
We say that as long as it'll take for you to get there, we're waiting, we're there with you and willing to walk the entire journey with you. That's how we say
That's
it.
amazing. And do you work with people all over the world?
Absolutely, we do. We have clients all over in the UK, in the US, we have people in Singapore, Dubai, and so on,
Oh
so
wow,
everywhere.
that's amazing, Kitan. So, what is the future of Alpha Coach, and what are the barriers you wish people to break? Right? Tell us a little bit. Well, this is the Alpha Coach is expanding this and that, and what are the barriers that you wish the world or the people that you serve to break through, like sustainably?
Yeah, I think this can be summarized into two words, and probably this was the first page of Relentless, and I'm sure you've read it at least a few times more than I have. Was the two words that don't think, right? And this is what he said to Kobe, and right up there, I think when they start training at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is exactly what people do all the time. They're thinking. The more they think, the fear grows. Everything that they want to get after is between them is between them. And the goal is literally stands that fear that what if it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
And I think if they were to simply put to use the fact that they don't need to think, it's a matter of fact. It's like getting up and brushing your teeth. You don't think about it, you actually go do it. It's not an enjoyable activity as such, right? It's not something that we have fun with, but it's just something we do. And if we actually start to think about most of the things that we do in life, if, oh, okay, there's a big meeting coming up, let's do it, no problem. Like, if you think about it, it starts to feel a little more terrifying. And fear only feeds on one thing, as I think we've all learned, is time. So the more you push it back, whether it's talking to your spouse, whether it's talking to your boss, whether it's starting a fitness journey, whether it's breaking off from a relationship, all of these, the fear only grows with time, and we start to, you know, I would say, sabotage our own success because of we overthink. And if you could just stop thinking about it and say, okay, this is done. It's supposed to be done. I'll do it, and that's it. So the don't think is something that people do. I think you can break through every barrier, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical, everything, to be honest.
Wow, that's a microphone drop right there, my ally. That's the breakthrough. That's the alpha ship. That's the choice. And don't think, no, like don't think and get the work done. And Kira, and this was amazing. Thank you for being such a contributor for our society and our world of breakthrough, of transformation and of results. I think that when you are focused on results instead of just the hype of what if I get a result, this is where you actually help the world get better, as you know, as it should, as it should. So do you have any last words, a little blessing? We always ask all of our contributors here in the podcast, our guests, to give a little blessing to the audience. Just know that this is, you know, this podcast goes to Latin America, to the people that speak English, and so they would love to hear from you, a little blessing, a couple of last words. And then you know, just for everybody to know, we're putting everything, how you connect with him, how you can sign up for Alpha Coach, how you can get you know, all the data, websites, social media. We will be in charge of that, so you can have access to Kitan. So, but any blessings just to part ways right now, my beloved ally?
Well, I think in terms of blessing, I think I have this thing in which I have this one mantra that I use for every relationship, and I would wish that upon our audience and you and Sophia and everybody involved. Is I call it the win-win-win framework, wherein it's not just a win-win with just two people and that's a straight line, but when you have a win-win-win, it typically becomes like a triangle, and there are more parties and more stakeholders sort of involved. So in business, for example, it's customers, it's employees, and it's investors, right? For me, to all of them need to win for us to be able for us to be able to be successful, and for us to just do a good job overall. So just two of them typically will not. If my customers are happy and my employees are happy, a lot of time the investors get a raw deal. If my investors are happy and the employees are happy, usually the customers get a raw deal, and so on and so forth. So I try and do something called the win-win-win, and I think if everybody can sort of practice that and make sure that it's always possible. It's not, it's not. The idea is to have. It's not a zero-sum game, and you have to have an abundance mindset to know that if these three parties are winning, then me as the founder and the CEO of this company will also win, which means that you need to be able to give, and you will always receive more than what you give. So I think that's something I treat every instance, even a handshake or a meal or a smile with another person. I always try and do it first, uh, so that we can actually, that other person, even if he doesn't feel like smiling or doesn't feel like shaking my hand, will be will be compelled to and feel it. And the more good you give out, like that smile or that compliment or that extending your arm outside, you will get it back. And that's what is the win-win-win framework, to be very honest.
Wow, that's
I
so
hope that made
wow,
sense.
that's so powerful, so beautiful. I made a lot of notes. So, my beloved ally, thank you so much. This is your home whenever you want to come, launch something to share. I'll be happy to host you again. Hopefully, when we are doing the video podcast, you come so now people can see you, right? But this has been such a
Absolutely.
joy. You're so such an embodiment of results, embodiment of going through a lot, especially the dead portal and coming out through the tunnel to the other side to serve people, to create impact, to elevate others, and to turn, breaking barriers, getting the alpha mode in anyone going. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for listening, for sharing, for your presence. We are so grateful for you all. Remember the words of Ketan: give a smile, give a blessing, give hope, give everything you can, because this is what I believe we're here for. Love you all. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. Un beso. Adios.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and share us with a friend. To learn more about how to live more present in the moment and take your faith into action, visit delaflorteachings.com/faith to access the free training of 21 Days of Faith in Action today.